Hey, have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When CJ and I were trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps that people like to listen to? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use too. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. We use Anchor because we live over an hour away and it brings us together as if we're in the same room. The sound quality is better than Skype and more reliable too. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing so, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join us and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
Hey CJ, remember that one time?
Oh yeah, it was fucking epic.
You're listening to
Remember That One Time,
the Inappropriate Storytime Podcast
with CJ
and Chris.
And these are not your mama's fairy tales.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is Remember That One Time with your hosts, Chris Wells
And CJ Davenport.
And we have a very special one-off episode for you guys this week, for anyone who's listening. We did take a short hiatus. We are getting back on that. But in the meantime, here's a special episode entitled, Remember That One Time We Tried Internet Dating. Now, I'll say try, because CJ mostly tried. I was successful and actually met my husband online. But before we got to this point, there was a very interesting, I'd say 2 years, year and a half, of really bad dates, and oh boy, do we have some stories for you. So we will start off. Do you want to do all of yours and then I do all of mine, or do we want to zigzag?
Let's zigzag. Let's
Okay.
bounce them like a volleyball.
Nice.
Ball.
And
I said ball.
do you want to start us off?
Oh God, where to start? Okay, so I guess we should start at the very beginning. So let me take you back to a time 10 years ago. If that even, like, internet dating was around 10 years ago, like, that tells you how old I am.
Zanga.
Like, ooh. Anyways, so, 10 years ago, I was, just getting out of a long relationship, broke up with my, high school fiance right before the wedding, and I'm like, okay, I took, like, a couple of months to just, like, run wild in the city, and then I was like, all right, I guess, I should probably try to settle down a little bit, find somebody. And so I got on internet dating. And I think this was before Match and eHarmony. And at least I hadn't heard of those things. So I just, I think I just Googled, I Googled internet dating. And the first
Google
thing.
boyfriend.
Pretty much, find me a boyfriend, stat. And, the first thing that popped up was Plenty of Fish, and so I'm like, okay, well, it's, original kind of name for a dating site, so I'm like, all right, I'll try it out. And I got on there, made myself a profile, and, like, right away, just bombarded. Like, if you can imagine, like, swimming in a sea of dicks, that's what it was like.
Get out your floaties.
Get out your floaties, because I was up to my eyeballs, literally. I mean, like, the dick pics just poured in. I'm like, I didn't even ask. Where did this come from?
Unsolicited.
Unsolicited. So I think that was about the start of, like, unsolicited dick pics. Like, that whole phrase, I'm pretty sure that was coined about 10 years ago, whenever this whole internet dating thing started. I'm just like, oh my God. So anyways, I waded through all of those and found somebody that actually didn't send me a dick pic, which was refreshing. And he seemed nice, so I talked to him, and I told him the whole spiel about, we hadn't I needed some time. I'm like, look, can we just talk for a little while? Like, I'm not trying to meet you tomorrow. Like, no offense, but let's just, get to know each other a little bit. And this is back before like unlimited texting. So like I had like 80 text messages a month. So I'm like, I don't know you. I'm not going to waste my 80 text messages on you. You're going to have to pick up the phone and call me. Old fashioned, call me on the phone. And after 9 because it's free. And so we talked for several weeks, I think. And so he was like, do you think it would be okay if we met up and maybe had dinner or something? And I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds nice. And I mean, he was a respectable guy. He sounded really, just nice guy. He had a good job. And so I'm like, okay, this is going to go well. I have a feeling this is going to go well. And so he calls me up the night before we're supposed to meet up, and he's like, I got to tell you something. I'm like, oh my God, here it is. What
he
is
has
it?
a wife and kids in Singapore.
Wife and kids in Singapore. You got herpes simplex AIDS. What is it? Like, what could it possibly be? And he's like, so I have this deformity. And I'm like, oh God.
He ain't got no penis.
Oh my God, he's got micro penis. I know all about that. What the hell? And so no, he spouted off this medical term. I'm like, I've never even heard of that. And he's like, well, I have like this claw thing. I'm like, did you just call it a claw? And he's like, yeah, that's kind of the best way to describe it. It's a claw.
He's a crab.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm like, whatever. I mean, like, how bad could it possibly be? I've seen pictures of this guy. We're Facebook friends. Or no, MySpace. We're MySpace. Facebook wasn't even around. Or it was just like, it was a baby. Yeah, it was in its beta stage or something. Like, I don't think it was even made public yet. I don't know. But we were MySpace friends. And so I like went back and looked at his MySpace pictures, and I'm like, I don't see anything weird. But then it occurred to me, he said my right hand, just right hand only, not my left. And so I went back and I looked, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because his right arm was either he was either turned to his left side or had his right arm around somebody. His right arm was not showing in any of the pictures. And now I get it as to why. And so I'm like, it's fine. It's whatever. I can handle this. I got this. I so have this.
No discrimination.
I'm not going to be that girl. I've invested far too much time. I'm going to get a free meal out of this. So we went to eat, and he pulls up in the parking lot and he calls me and he's like, I'm here. And so we met at the front door, and I was just like, I'm like, how do you shake hands? Like, do you hug?
Bump nubs?
What do you do? I don't know what to do. And so I just couldn't stop looking at it, and I felt bad because, I mean, I know he knew that I was looking, and I'm like, no, I'm going to get through this. I have to push through this. At least through to dessert. I have to. So, I just kept, watching how he used it. I thought maybe it would just hang there. Maybe it didn't move. Maybe it didn't have any nerve endings and it just hung there. But he was using it. He unwrapped his straw with it and put it in his drink. And, oh, God. He unfolded his napkin and put it in. It was just, I don't know. It was something. And so I'm just like, I can't how do I get out of this? Get me out of this. I have to find a way out.
Before you die laughing.
Before I die. I don't know what to do. But that's the thing. Other than that, he was a great guy. And so at the end of the day, besides the claw, everything was fantastic. We had great conversation. He's cute. I'm like, he's got a good job. He seems to have a nice family. He's got his head screwed on straight. What the hell am I supposed to do?
But think about what you've missed. That claw, if it was done the right way, it could hit the perfect spot.
Nope. Not even worth it. It was like 2 sausages with oversized fingernails. It was so bad. So anyways, end of the date, it went well. He thought it went well. He asked me out on another date. What am I supposed to say? No, I can't see you again because you have a claw.
And this is before ghosting people was acceptable.
Exactly. Like, you were just shunned for life. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Like, no, I'm not going to go out again with you and your claw. Like, I'm just waiting for him to, like, he's using it to do all these other things. It seems like a completely functional appendage for him. I'm waiting for him to, like, reach over and brush my hair out of my face with one of the sausage fingers. Like, I can't deal with this. I'm not equipped for this. And so, but, you know, like an idiot, I'm a pussy, so.
You went on the second date,
I went on the
didn't you?
second, yes, I did. I went on the second date. And it was the same exact thing. You know, we went out to eat, and I just kept watching it and all these things that he could do with it. And I'm just like, I can't. Get me out of this. He asked me on a third date. I'm like, okay, one of these days I'm going to grow a set, but that day's not today. So yes, I will go out with you again. Thank God nothing physical happened within these 2 dates, because I just couldn't. I'm like, don't you touch me with that thing. I will come at you like a spider monkey if you touch me with that thing. And so, third date, went out on the third date, everything. And I can tell, like, I mean, he hugged me and he kissed me on the third date. And I'm like, okay, he's wanting to get physical with his claw. And I can't. I'm going to have to find a way out of this. So, went home. He called me that night and asked me out on a fourth date. And I was like, okay, you know, my schedule at work is kind of crazy, which is bullshit because, I mean, I work for a doctor's office. We have the same, we're open the same days, the same hours every single week. Nothing ever changes. I just panicked. I didn't know what to say. I'm like, oh, you know how people do. They're like, oh, things are so crazy at work. That's like the go-to excuse.
Yeah.
Like, so I use the stock excuse. And so I'm like, I just got to think. I just need some time to think about this. And thank God, the next day, so like, this is before like texting pictures. So he emailed me a picture, and I can see the little paperclip attachment. And so I don't know what it is. And I open it up, and it is a picture of his desk at work. And
I'm so glad you said desk.
Desk, yes. It's a picture of his desk at work, and he has spelled out "I love Courtney" in pennies. In pennies. If you want to get exact, there was 126 of them. So apparently I'm only worth $1.26. But it said "I love Courtney," and I was just like, I don't know.
Backpedal.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Let's get out of this. And so I sent him a message, and I was like, you know, I just think that you're getting way too attached, and I'm not ready for this. And, you know, I just think you need to find somebody that's, you know, on the same level as you, because that ain't me. What I really wanted to say was find someone with a claw hand with 3 fingers and put it with your 2, and you'll have a whole hand. But I didn't say that because that's mean. So, yeah. That was my first time.
That was the claw.
That was the claw.
Well, my first foray, I jumped on to, I believe it was Plenty of Fish as well, because, hey, it's free.
I thought you were going to say I jumped onto a man.
No, it just started out as texting at first. And I met this 50-something-year-old guy because I had put in my dating profile that I wanted someone extremely intelligent and sophisticated, and I got this 50-year-old guy texting me in Old English, like Shakespearean. So I had to get out my Shakespeare books and like decode what he was saying in order to answer him back. And it lasted for a little bit, but he was like, "My fair lady, 'tis time for me to scurry on to the next." And I'm like, okay, have fun, bye. And so that was the very first type of thing. Then, I mean, there were quite a few that were just texting, but there were so many. There was Elevator Face. That guy, we called him that because it looked like when you step into an elevator and the door's closed, it's like his face was squished like this. And so he was a problem. And he was a guy, he was so pushy. This is something about online dating. is if A, you don't get a unsolicited dick pic within 30 seconds, you're lucky. But B, if you ever like tell a guy no, the very first thing that's going to happen is this is what the conversation will be like. Hi, sweetie. And you reply like with like, oh, I'm sorry, but you're not really my type. And his response will be like, you're a fat hooker whore and you fuck pigs and I hate you and you should go die.
Yeah.
And you're like, excuse me, what? Where did that come
If
from?
I'm all of those things, why did you just try to get with me?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't understand.
And this is how Elevator Face was. And every time I would talk to him, it would be like, show me insert body part. And I'd be like, LOL, no. And he would just keep pushing, come on, do it. And I'm like, dude, I'm at work. And he's like, I don't care, go to the bathroom, do an upskirt. And I'm like, no, dude, no. And so eventually I handed my phone over to CJ and I'm like, rip this guy something good. And so she did. She let into him with like 5 paragraphs of like, I hope you trip and fall into a volcano.
Please tell me you saved it. Did you save it? Do you have it somewhere?
I might in my email somewhere, but I don't have it at hand right now.
Damn.
It was fantastic. And so that's Elevator Face was
Like-
pushy.
Why do I always resort to online bullying?
I don't know.
just-
Well,
I'm
you have to
always
bully back the
online
bullies.
bully. I'm sorry.
And so after Elevator Face, what did it naturally? There was
Fat sweaty Tim.
oh my god, I forgot about Fat Sweaty Tim. That was my first legit online hookup
Oh.
at the Red Roof Inn. It was awful. So before the hookup at the Red Roof Inn, please believe I used to drive to the cemetery on the road where I grew up and totally had phone sex in the cemetery a couple of times before.
She woke up the dead, trust me.
True story. Like, there's probably still a mark on the tombstones. Dripping. It was fantastic. And so, after our phone calls, we decided to meet up at the Red Roof Inn, and nothing happened because he came out of the shower and was still stinky. It was that bad. So, it was like a lot of, ooh, okay, fine, I'll rub your shoulders if that's something that you're into. Like, I tried to be all cute in my heels and whatever the thigh highs and everything. And I eventually texted CJ and I was like, this is not working. I have to leave right now.
SOS.
SOS, exactly. So I lit out of there as soon as I could. And I had almost forgot about Fat Sweaty Tim. Thank you for that.
How could you forget about
I
Fat
have no
Sweaty
idea.
Tim?
And what was after Fat Sweaty Tim? Like I said, I don't have enough fingers to count.
Yeah, if you used fingers, toes, my fingers and toes, Ben's fingers and toes, everyone in this apartment's fingers and toes.
I know.
It's not
It,
enough.
it was awful. Well, while I think
The
of my
West Memphis Possum Killer.
that was a little bit further on, but while I think of who my next one is, what's your next?
Well, there was the actual next one after him. It wasn't really anything that funny. He was just one of those dudes that like he just wore way too much jewelry and way too much cologne. And I don't know why, but I was like,
Is his name Guido?
and no, I don't even remember what his name was actually. Yeah, it was just like, hey, you could come to church with me. I don't know why I thought that was a suitable date. It's not, FYI. Just in case anybody out there's wondering, it's not a suitable date. Don't ever do it.
Hallelujah, I feel the spirit.
So, I feel something. Yeah, he was just, he had a ring on almost every finger, and a chain, and a watch, and a bracelet on the other hand, and an earring in one ear, and he just smelled like he rolled in Jacquard Noir or something. It was bad. Who was after that?
Should we get into the ones at the apartment
I
yet?
think. Oh yeah,
That's-
I get them mixed up. I've had 3 separate stints. That was my first stint. Was after after my high school fiance, and then I ended up meeting somebody in person, and so I got off of there. And then when we broke up, I got back on there briefly, And oh yeah, that's where I met my gay husband. How could I forget about that one? That's the story to top all stories.
I thought you guys met at the Sparrow.
No.
Okay, so this is my memory.
Yeah.
So-
Tell me how you remember it, and I'll tell you
This
how it really was.
This is CJ's ex-husband. So they go out, well, she goes out one night with her buddies, and he goes out with his friends, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, drunkenly, they see each other at a Sparrow. They get hella drunk, and he, being silly, like, proposes to her in the Sparrow.
You're getting...
And this is what happened.
Okay. All right.
And so he proposed, and she's like, well, why the hell not? Let's get married. And so they decided to get married after knowing each other for all of like 4 minutes in a Sbarro. And so they spent more time in Nashville at some other bar up north for like 2 weeks. And then they were like, you know what? I'm serious. Let's legit do this. I'm going to marry the fuck out of you. So they did. And then they went to Sam's Club and bought a ton of bacon and ate their bacon on their honeymoon. And then about a year later, he was like, yeah, so I like penises. And she's like, okay, well, I kind of thought that. Thanks for clarifying, considering you have a friend named Porkchop that was yelling outside of my door. So that's going to be a whole other episode, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Okay, so there's a little bit of truth to that and a little bit of not. So basically, what you did is you took two stories and meshed them together. I did see someone get proposed to at Sbarro. It was not me, and it was before I met my gay ex-husband. So yeah, I was just out bar hopping one night, and naturally, after you go bar hopping, you go eat pizza at Sbarro. And yeah, there was just this couple, and this guy got down on one knee and he proposed to this girl at like 4 a.m, and she started crying and she said yes, and all their friends were just laughing and, you know, crying and taking pictures and stuff. That actually happened. However, that is not how I got engaged. No, I met my gay ex-husband on Plenty of Fish, and yeah, he was not, at least he didn't advertise himself as gay. he labeled his goods as straight. So that's why I thought, you know, it was free game. And he was cute, so I was like, okay, you know, let's do this. And so I don't know who sent a message first, him or me, but anyways, we got together, and I think we had been dating for maybe a month, maybe 3 weeks to a month. And his friends, some of his family, like an aunt or uncle or cousins or somebody came out. They lived out west, and they came out here, and they're like, yeah, take us to all the bars downtown. And so we took them to one of the rooftop bars downtown. And we're sitting there, and I had just way too many. And I have pictures from that night, and I don't know why. We were dressed up. He was in a suit.
He's a weirdo.
He was in a full-on suit and tie, and I was in, like, literally a prom dress. But a short one. Like,
why?
A short prom dress and, like, 3-inch heels. You know me. I don't wear heels, ever. Ever.
Unless they're on boots.
Yeah, I wear cowboy boots, not heels, ever. I don't know what... I don't remember really anything from that night, except for waking up going, I've made some really poor life choices. So, no, we were out, and I just remember being really drunk on this rooftop bar, and I was, like, stumbling around on my heels, and I think I twisted my ankle, and I was like, we should drive to the all-night chapel and get married. And he goes, yeah! And honestly, I don't really remember who drove us, but somehow we got there. Thank God they were closed. And then I came home and fell asleep and woke up going, oh my God, I almost made a really bad choice. And he woke up going, oh my God, we should totally do it for reals. We should get married. First of all, if a guy ever says for reals, run. Just run. Because it's not going to end pretty. So, I mean, I spent the next, like, 3 or 4 weeks just trying to convince him that, like, it was too soon, and he spent the next 3 or 4 weeks trying to convince me that it was a great idea, and we were going to do it one day anyways. Why not now? And so, eventually, I was just like, all right, fine, I'll marry you. And so one Friday we went down to the courthouse and we got married.
Bing, bang, boom.
And yeah, so I was like right in the middle. I was donating my eggs back then. I was right in the middle of a cycle, and you can't have sex during that because you'll get pregnant with like 100 babies.
Right.
So I didn't even have sex on the wedding night. We went and got married. We went to Demas's and had lunch. We went to Sam's Club, and I don't know why, but we bought a shit ton of bacon. We went home.
True story.
We ate all this bacon. Like, I'm talking pounds of bacon. Most people measure bacon in slices. We measured it in pounds. So
Fantastic.
there was that. And then like 3 days later, I don't know where you got a year, but it was like 3 or 4 days later, he was like, guess what? And I was like, what? And he's like, I used to be gay. I was like, that's not cool.
Used to be.
You used to be. You either are or you are not. And I mean, you've seen what I'm working with. I don't have a penis.
You don't have the proper equipment.
I don't have that. So, you might be barking up the wrong tree. He was like, no, I used to be. I'm not anymore. And I was like, you sure about that? And yeah, he proceeded to tell me that the guy that he was living with when we met, his quote unquote roommate, who was 20 years older than us,
And
a preacher, and also had 3 grown children, 2 of which were older than us. Apparently that was his lover. So that was a wake up call. So yeah, I got a divorce.
Yeah. So that's the story of that.
So that was my second stint. And like an idiot, I went back for more.
Yeah.
Because why not?
And so by the time she went back for her third stint, I was still on the same. Okay, it's half and half. I was in a long distance relationship with a guy in a different state from me. Yeah, he was a loser, and it was a very rocky thing because I was like, I'm in love with this guy. I'm gonna move to like 3 states over, and everything's gonna be hunky dory. And it turns out, in the long run,
Tattoo for him.
yeah, that happened. And I mean, it was so bad. I had changed personality habits. It was ridiculous. And so I had that kind of in the background for almost 2 years. And since it was a long distance thing, I could keep it in the background, but still kind of continue with things as well. Yeah. And so me and CJ kind of got divorced around the same time, and we were looking for a place to live, so we decided to move in together. And I'm pretty sure if you've listened to the podcast, you're aware of the apartment on Main that we used to rock. And so during that time, we were both online dating the entire time. And the people we brought home, if you've seen the movie Dinner for Schmucks, it was very similar to that, because we would try to see which of us could bring the biggest loser in. And I'm pretty sure I won on all accounts.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Yeah, because I, at one point, brought home a guy whose wife had died like 5 days beforehand, and he brought his wiener dog with him, and he had a really bad stuttering problem the whole time, so it was really hard not to laugh.
Still wearing his wedding band.
Yes, still in his wedding band, which was awful, so that was a one and done. Then there was the guy that somehow found our address. He used to work at Kroger. No, he probably still works at Kroger. He somehow found our address and showed up at our door at like 11 p.m.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, this is when CJ was doulaing at the time, and she had placenta in the oven and was crushing up pills for a tincture. And he just stumbles on in like, "Hey, how are ya?" And he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like,
placentas, what are you doing?
right, as anyone else does. So we quickly ushered him out of that apartment and like locked the door, and bless you, and we were just absolutely terrified for a while. Those are the only 2 I remember actually coming into the apartment.
Can you forget?
Oh, okay, yeah, Hippie Jake's a whole nother thing. Yeah, so there was this guy, we kindly refer to him as Hippie Jake.
kindly. We don't
okay.
kindly do anything to him.
Okay.
He needs to burn in hell.
Yes. Well, this was the super scary one in which I very well could have been murdered.
Yeah.
And there's a place around here. We're gonna call it Hippie Hill because that's what most people call it around here. It's a commune that is known for drugs and sex trafficking, mainly drugs. They claim that it's a distillery, but it's not. And so I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but he didn't have a car because it wasn't his day to use the commune car. So I had to go pick him up. And we went back to the apartment. He brought a bottle of dandelion wine that was homemade, which means date rape drug. So I didn't drink any of that. And I made shrimp and grits that honestly were the bomb, and they were so good. But apparently,
you got the recipe.
yeah, I got the recipe from the chef boyfriend in a different state. So that was fun. And so I made shrimp and grits. Everything was good. One thing leads to another. And, like, he gets super, super mad that I won't sleep with him while we're making out. So he reaches down and bites my boob. Like, straight up bites. Blue and purple.
Bit your nipple. OFF off.
Tried to bite it off. It was so bad that I locked myself in the bathroom and instantly sent a picture of my boob to CJ. But unfortunately, her boyfriend at the time was, like, she was driving and he was manning the cell phone. So he opened it up and was like, whoa! There's Chris's titty right there in my face. Here it is.
Except it's bruised and bleeding.
Yes, except there's a wound. It's a flesh
wound.
wound.
What are y'all into?
Right? What is this? And so I slept in the bathroom because I was too terrified to come out. I assumed had slept on the couch. He may have ended up sleeping in CJ's bed. And just in case, we did take all of her bedding and, like, had it steam cleaned at the laundromat. Like, because this guy smelled like 10-year-old taco meat. It was so bad. He had dreadlocks.
And you still kissed him.
How? I'm telling you, this was so bad. Bad choices were made all around on every aspect. And so, from what I'm assuming, he's sleeping on the couch. Well, a couple weeks pass by. I do not respond to anything. And he's, like, sending me threatening emails. And it's just because I didn't give him my phone number. So he's sending me threatening emails, and eventually, after me not replying, he sent me an email that said, 1, I saw the picture of your friend in her room. She's so much hotter than you. And then another one came in saying, oh, by the way, I hope your friend likes what I left in her bra. And so she goes looking, and she's like, what bra? So there's one that's hanging on her doorknob. It's this really cool, black, studded, sexy bra. And she turns it over. Inside the cup is just stained with splooge. Jizz. Man, nastiness. He jizzed in her bra.
I didn't wear it.
Yeah, could you imagine?
2 weeks.
Could you imagine the, like, squish? You put your boob in the squish.
Well, I'm sure it would have been crusty and hard by then, but still.
But still, I would burn my nipple off.
Like, I'm like, there's no even cleaning this.
No, you have to throw it away.
I can't bleach it. I can't clean it. I can't dry clean it. Nothing. I just have to throw it away. And I was so pissed because it was super cute.
It was. And that's the craziest thing that I think has ever happened was Hippie Jake.
And I mean, in the meantime, me and my boyfriend at the time, we were going to Iowa to a concert. So we're like in a cornfield in Illinois when she texts me this. And I'm like, there's not a damn thing I can do. I'm like 400 miles away. I'm like, freaking call the police. Do something. I can't help you. Like, help yourself. Do something. Right. And she was just like in tears, like sleeping in the bathtub, curled up with the shower curtain, like, oh God. I'm like, so oh my bad. God, this is such a disaster. This is so terrible. Yeah. I don't even know how you're damn lucky you got out of that alive. That was actually, I mean, it's funny, scary. But it was also scary. We actually
changed the locks on the apartment.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, it was
because all that time that he was in the bathroom, or that you were in the bathroom, you have no idea like what he did
other than splooge in your bra.
I mean, he could have taken your keys and called an Uber and gone to Walmart and made a copy of the keys and then come back while you were sleeping. You have no idea.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just saying. It's
So
a
now-
good thing that we changed the locks because you literally have no idea what he was doing.
No.
I mean, how long could it have possibly taken him to splooge in my bra? 2 seconds?
I hope.
So,
don't
yeah,
know.
there was a lot of extra time that there ain't no telling what he did.
Well, give me a few of your at the apartment.
Let's see. So, there was
Well, you have to wait.
this. Okay, so this one guy, he wasn't anything special. I mean, he was cute and everything. He had a decent job, and we got together and we went. I think we we took an inner tube down to the river and just sat there. No, this is a different one. The burning hat guy. Yeah. So took some inner tubes down to the river and just floated for the day and drank and talked, and he seemed nice and everything. So we came back to the apartment and had a little fun, and then he left a bunch of stuff. Like, he had brought this big, like, a full-size cooler with, like, all these drinks and snacks and stuff, and then he had he brought, like, a change of clothes and a hat and all this other stuff. And before he left that night, he had made plans that we were going to get together like 2 or 3 nights from then. And so he left a bunch of that stuff at my apartment. And so the night that he was supposed to come over, a couple of nights later, I was going to cook something. And so I was cooking, and I texted him, and I was like, oh my gosh, it smells so good. And it was one of those, I can't remember what it was, but it was in the crock pot, so it was cooking all day long. And I texted him, and I was like, yeah, it smells so good. And that was like probably 2 or 3 hours before he was supposed to come over. No response. And so I texted him closer to time, and I was like, you still coming? No response. So the time that he was supposed to be there came and gone. He never showed up. And so I was like, fine, motherfucker, I'm going to teach you a lesson. You ain't getting none of your shit back. I'm taking your cooler. I'm drinking your drinks. I'm eating your snacks. And I'm burning your hat in my kitchen sink.
Boom.
And that's what we did.
It is.
We set his hat on fire in my kitchen sink.
It's the best therapy.
Yeah, it is. If you ever just really need to just get some anger out,
Burn something.
burn something. Take something of somebody's that you really want to hurt and set it on fire.
Well, you haven't had much luck when it comes to guys and rafts on the river.
Yeah, there's another one. So this dude, I don't know how did we even like decide that you were gonna tag along and be a third wheel on my date?
So
how
you
did
didn't
that
get
happen?
murdered, I think.
I guess we just. This is probably the first date after Hippie Jake.
I think so.
And so we were like, oh, better safe than sorry. So I was like, okay, well, me and this guy, we're going to go. I had an inflatable canoe at the time. And so I'm like, oh, well, we're going to go canoe the river that's close to our house. And so I was like, well, I told this guy, I'm like, I hope you don't mind, but we had like a really bad / scary experience. And so she's going to tag along if you don't mind. Even if you do mind, she's still tagging along. And so all 3 of us go down to the river. I think me and him were in the canoe, and Chris had an inner tube or something. And so we got caught. I don't know if we got out of the canoe or we flipped over or something happened, and we got caught in the current, and I lost a flip-flop, and I was trying to get through the current, and I got a Charlie horse in one of my calves, and so I went down hard. Then I got a Charlie horse in my other calf, so I was just completely incapacitated. And in the meantime, Chris had already flipped her inner tube, and she was struggling too. And I can swim because I took bubble guppy lessons at the YMCA when I was 8. So
and I'm underwater going.
yeah. So I'm screaming, "Save her first!" And he had a hold. I think she flipped over first, and he had a hold of her arm or her raft or something. And then I went down hard with my 2 Charlie horses, and he literally he didn't just let go of her arm. He practically pushed her under, and he was like, CJ needs me. And he's like, if she screams, I'm gonna go save her. And he just like completely leaves Chris behind and just comes to save me. I'm like, what are you doing? You basically just told my best friend that you're gonna let her drown. I can swim. I'm just incapacitated at the moment. I'll float downstream. I'll let my Charlie horses ride it out, and I'll be fine. I'll just have to walk back a mile. It's fine. Meanwhile,
limp back.
Whatever, limp back. Meanwhile, she's gonna freaking inhale every bit of this river, and she's gonna die. Save her life. What are you doing?
Well,
so
we didn't go back to him. I
we
say
didn't.
we, like we were.
Well, we're a package deal, so
Yeah, basically.
yeah, we didn't go back to him. I told him to take a hike.
Yeah, there was that. There were a couple of little ones. There was a guy in West Memphis, Arkansas. He was like 20 years old, super young. He said he had his own place, and what he meant by that was a trailer that was like duct taped to his grandma's trailer in the same lot in the park. And he had legitimately had a raccoon in the roof that was scurrying the entire time. He offered me ravioli. Yeah, he offered me ravioli and booty. And I'm like,
Chef Boyardee. It was like Chef
Yeah.
Bon Appetit or something.
yeah, Chef Boner, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a problem. So I drove literally to Arkansas for that. And I'm like, no, I'm coming back. There's none of that. And then
What was it? Basketball Mike or something?
it was basketball Matt. I can't tell.
Basketball Matt.
Yeah, he was like 7'4" and the biggest dick I had ever seen in my life. It was like half of his body weight. It was amazing. Yeah, and so like he had to unroll it out of his pants. It was amazing. So I'm like, I will drive 2 hours every day if I have to. So unfortunately, it didn't pan out. I don't remember what exactly happened. I think his house was like hit by a tornado, and I had said something insensitive, and he was like, yeah, LOL, no. So we stopped talking, which really bummed me out. Super sad. That's all the little ones that I can really think of. And then
that guy that was we nicknamed every last one of them, and I can't remember.
yeah.
nickname for the old
The
guy.
one, which old guy?
Well, I mean, he was at the time. I was like 24 or 25.
Oh, he was like
he was
35,
30. He was
38. Didn't we just call him 38?
We called him 38. That's right.
That's
yeah.
right.
And I was all concerned because he has two girls, and I can't remember their ages at the time, but whatever their ages were, they were old enough that, like, if we were out in public, they'd know that they aren't mine.
They'd think you're the nanny.
Yeah, I'm the nanny, or maybe I'm
An
his
older sister.
like he really, really screwed up at age 12 and had a baby. I don't know, but like there was no way that people would believe that. Maybe his youngest they probably could have bought if I'd gotten knocked up at like 16. But his oldest, there was no way.
She just could not get over the mental fact that he was 38. It did not work.
Yeah.
But then there was
But
one.
Nowadays, like he added me on Facebook, like
What, recently?
yeah, like
Yes.
3 or 4 days ago. He's like loaded.
Nice.
I mean, I knew he was loaded.
You done fucked up.
I knew he was loaded back then, like, because he had, I think he worked at Bridgestone, and he was, I don't know what he did there, but he had, like, a really, really nice Jeep, and, like, 2 different houses, and a boat, and now he like, lives on a houseboat.
Dude.
And has, like, all these jet skis and all these other boats.
Ask him if you can bring Chris with you. And just move in.
No, I'm good. I'm so good.
Oh, God.
Because after I was done with him, I kind of pawned him off on 2 of my other friends, and they've had him too.
Nice.
So he's kind of made his rounds around the group. He's done.
Yeah, set him free.
He's done.
No, I remember his name is the name of an actual like serial killer like movie. Mike Myers. No, do you remember Mike Myers?
Yes.
The one, he took me to Opry Mills, the big mall here.
Yes, and he was like, come meet my mom. She works at this kiosk.
Yeah, he introduced me to his mom on our first date, who was working the kiosk. And then we sat in my car for literally 6 hours. If I could have gotten out, gone to the passenger side, and pulled him out of my car, it would have been easier than trying, like, okay, bye. Okay, bye, thanks. It was really nice meeting you. okay, bye. And
Yeah.
it got to the, like, we kept talking, and he was like, so I've been looking at jobs closer to your area. And I'm like, wait a second.
We've been talking for 5 minutes.
Yeah, you think that you're going to, like, move into my house and get a job. And I'm like, whoa, buddy. No, there will be none of this.
I mean, you're already ahead of my ex-husband,
But still, no. And then there was that random guy from Lebanon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was, like, on his way to a camping trip, and he just, like, stopped by. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And then that was weird.
Yeah, it was.
I think that's pretty much it before I found... Was there... Corey.
Yes.
Oh, God.
How could you forget
I was-
Corey?
So the one...
And cherry cupcake.
I know. So the one right before my husband, he was like, at that point, he was pretty much a dreamboat for me. Like, he had this long, sexy black hair, and he had these really pretty blue eyes, and he listened to my music, and he was just into all the things I was into. He lived somewhat close nearby, and he was just awesome. And he was super nice and said all the right things, and it was so good. But it turns out that anytime we tried to meet up anywhere, like, I bought concert tickets to see one of our favorite bands, and he stood me up, and I took his mother to the concert that I bought us tickets for.
I remember that.
Because I have to work. I can't get out of work. Work called me in. Pretty sure it didn't.
Yeah.
He worked at Kroger. Nobody is calling him in. It was the stupidest thing. And, like, I invited him to come over to my mom's for the 4th of July. The last second, every single time, at the very last second, he
even gave you an excuse.
yeah.
Sometimes he'd just stand you up.
Yeah, for 2 or 3 days, he would disappear. He would completely ghost me for days at a time. Well,
Loser.
I got on Facebook, and somebody on Facebook had marked him as in a relationship with him, and it turned out it was this girl. She had her Facebook name as Cherry, and then the last name was Cupcake, but hold it. It was Cupcayke. Cherry Cupcake. It was the stupidest thing. So I called him out, and I was like, I hear you like cupcakes, bitch. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like sweets. And I'm like, let me have a talk with you. So
Let me just show you this screenshot of this bitch with flaming red hair and a freaking dollop on top of her head.
yeah, it was ridiculous.
Like, she looks like a freaking cherry cupcake sundae all wrapped into, I don't know.
Creative.
I don't know what,
Yeah. So
I don't know what the hell she looked
Yeah.
like. There's not even words to
No.
describe it. She was like this weird, awkward.
Yeah. So I had to get rid of him. It was a bad deal.
Yeah.
And like the week that I was getting rid of him is when I got messages from my current husband. And honestly, how it happened, I was scrolling through and I checked out his profile a couple of times. I sent him a message and he never replied. Acted like I didn't exist. Well, a few weeks later, I was scrolling around again and found him, and he sent me a message, and he was like, I saw you've been peeping my profile, why don't you say hi? And I'm like,
I did.
I
bitch.
did, and you ignored me. And he's like, I never got the message. And he still swears to this day he never got the message. But I'm like, no, I had to bug you before you would answer me. So... Oh my God. Okay, so that's a different thing. So it was not, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
No.
Jumping out of, remember the closet in my old house when it was abandoned?
Oh, God!
Okay.
You have to tell that.
No, we have to save it for a different one. You know what? There we go. There's our cliffhanger. That's what we're gonna end the story on. I'm just gonna tell you. I'm gonna tease next episode. It involves CJ sitting in a closet, a safe word, some whips, and a contract. The end.
Wait, you gotta give him more than that.
Nope, that's it.
No.
The end. Nope, that's it. The end. We're out.
Damn it.
Until next time.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.